It's a question that a lot of people and businesses are thinking about right now. What is the future of artificial intelligence? Specifically, what does it mean for jobs and people across the world and right here in the Commonwealth? Let's talk about that. Joining us in studio this morning, we have Dr. Barbara H. Smith, corporate business strategist, talking about AI, its impact here in Virginia, and what companies and business leaders need to consider when it comes to implementing it into the workplace. Dr. Smith, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure and honor to be here.
Pleasure to have you here as well. We know that AI is here. It is here and it is here to stay. My first question to you is, how is artificial intelligence changing job roles in Virginia, and which industries are most likely to feel its impact?
Wow, what a great question. First of all, I hear people say all the time, AI is the future. No, AI is now. And what companies can do right now, it's not necessarily diminishing or decreasing everybody's job. What it is it's enhancing if you know how to use the tool. So here's what I suggest to my clients. You have to get ahead of this curve. The technology is not going anywhere, much like it would be ludicrous to use a fax machine in 2026. And so it's leaning into the technology, learning about the technology so that leadership can lean in, learn the technology, and lead their teams to effective, ethical use of this technology.
So let's lean into that, right? When it comes to these new skills that people need to kind of be aware of when it comes to AI, what are the new skills and how can people kind of gravitate or build themselves to where they are as of use with artificial intelligence in their companies?
That's another great question. So start small. First of all, right now there are two camps: leadership and corporations that are not using the tool at all or banning it. And there are people who are using the tool but using it unethically. And so what I train leaders to do is to take a snapshot in time. What are you doing that is redundant? What are you doing that is repetitive? What can be done to do research more effectively? That's where AI's strengths lie. And so don't go full on if you have not started yet. But those who are using the tool understand that if you're not using it ethically and with compliance, your company is at risk because you have employees that are using the tool whether you think they are or not. So the reskilling and the retooling of skills will help you research better, manage better, lead better. It doesn't replace the human elements of compassion, empathy, leadership skills. How do you lead a team to be more effective? So skills, upskilling, and new skills are emerging all the time. The people who are grabbing hold of this software, hardware, whatever it is, when it comes to AI and learning how to use it effectively are the leaders and leadership that will strive and succeed in this new age. It's just change management.
I want to ask a follow-up question when it comes to ethics. I think for a lot of people, that's part of the question here, right? What are the rules of engagement for artificial intelligence? Could you give some examples of what you would define as something that is not ethical for maybe an employee or an employer in using AI?
Absolutely. I work also in the higher education space. And what's unethical is to ask AI a question and take it word for word and put it somewhere. First, without checking that it's true, because AI does make mistakes. And second, by not giving credit to the fact that you did use an AI tool to find the information. Those are two very simple, unethical ways of using AI. And so let's flip the script and talk about what is ethical. Suppose I do research for a university and I use AI to do the research. In other words, to find the articles. That's where the power of AI is. It can search the entire globe of information and give you back ways or exact passages, articles, periodicals, peer-reviewed information that you can now research yourself instead of you having to do all of that research. Then you are to add a line in your text, in your in-text, in your reference, in your citation that says used AI in this search. That's ethical.
I love those examples that you gave, really broke those down. In terms of economic growth, obviously that's something that we would all like to see here in the Commonwealth. Are there any opportunities that AI provides for economic growth in Virginia?
That's another great question. There are all kinds of ways to grow in this AI space. There are new leadership roles coming out, AI strategic engineers, all kinds of different ways to use the technology, the bandwidth of using the equipment that is needed to man these systems, policy and procedures, how to cultivate what is ethical and unethical in a policy and procedure. That's the lane that I'm really involved in right now. It's risk management, it's return on your investment. All of those things are going to be areas where jobs are going to grow, because right now it's kind of like being in the wild, wild west. People are doing all kinds of different things that are not legal, ethical, not prudent for their business to succeed. But as we go down this path, change management to me is one of those areas that is also going to provide additional opportunities, because to be able to see the technology, see the change, and guide their people through it, leadership is going to need to have those kinds of skills.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see how everything unfolds when it comes to setting parameters for the use of artificial intelligence. I know that's been a conversation even among certain hearings in, Capitol Hill, what we could potentially do from a legal standpoint to kind of make sure AI doesn't go to, as you refer to it, the wild, wild west for forever. On that same kind of note, right, we're talking about all of the great opportunities that artificial intelligence can present for economic growth. What are the dangers of relying, if there are any dangers, relying too heavily on AI in your business?
Well, one of the things I'd like to present is you can use AI heavily when you're doing research. There is really not a lot of danger there. Where the danger lies is when private information, personal information, PII, personally identifiable information, is exposed to AI. Because now you have exposed your company, trade secrets, those types of things to the entire world. So we have to place guardrails around our information and around our people. The other thing I want to make very, very clear is, yes, this technology is wonderful in a lot of ways, but it's also very risky, and not just risky, but it could cause damage to your brand if the wrong information gets into the wrong hands. The third thing I'd like to add to that conversation is we still need human beings, because human beings have empathy, compassion. You cannot teach a tool, a bot to have compassion. And so where people get afraid that they're losing their jobs, when leadership embraces the technology and puts guardrails around the things that are important, you still have to have leadership skills in order to manage people. And so that's my caveat about the jobs being taken by AI. AI, the tool, is like a spreadsheet. It's like a Word document. It is not going to take jobs, but people who are able to use this technology most efficiently, those are the people that are going to be taking jobs.
I was just having this conversation with a friend recently, and they posed the question, just kind of think, in thinking ahead, what industries aren't impacted by AI? And I really struggled to figure that out. I mean, right now I'm sitting there thinking about it. I don't know. Can you think of any industries that, AI would not potentially take over outside of maybe farming or those guys? I mean, I can't think of any.
There are none that I can think of. That doesn't mean that there aren't any. Mm-hmm. But what I can tell you is, when you say take over, people who say they're not going to use AI. If you use Google, you're using AI. If you're using GPS, you're using AI. If you ever said, "Hey Siri, hey Alexa," you're using AI. It's all artificial intelligence, but we have to grab hold of the right way to use the technology, and that's my my bandstand. That's my soapbox to stand on, and that we are all using the technology, but how we use the technology is the most important thing.
Okay, so with that, there are people who say, I won't use it. I have some people in my family who are just like that, Dr. Smith. They say, I refuse. And you talked about Alexa and Siri. They will not say those names. But, since we're talking about, the evolution of how things are going, and you have those people, but you also just have people who may not be technologically savvy.
Right.
How would you coach and encourage someone to take those baby steps to become familiar with AI, because we know it's going to be and is already such an influencer for employment and for the workforce?
AI is embedded in our society today. There is really no getting around it. If you use an ATM machine, if you use any kind of a machine, period, you are potentially using AI. So what I teach people, especially the elderly, those who are not tech savvy, it's not about the technology. It's about making sure that you're using what you have in a more efficient way. So what do I teach? I teach slowly. I teach in plain English. And so I ask questions like, what are the things that cause you the most angst? What are the things that take you the most time? And then I show them simplistic ways to use the technology to make their lives simpler. And, most of the time I don't tell them that it's AI. I just show them how to do something that's going to make their life easier.
Well, you've certainly made this conversation easier. I know that as much. And so
much.
We certainly appreciate you coming in. Is there anything else that you would like to make sure our viewers hear when it comes to artificial intelligence in the workplace before we go to break?
Just want you to know that it's not something to be feared. It's something to be used. It's something to manage. And for leadership out there that is looking for ways to gain compliance and to get a return on your investment, just check us out, BHS and Associates, BarbaraHSmith.com.
And there you heard her, Dr. Barbara H. Smith, corporate business strategist, coming in and speaking on a very important topic when it comes to artificial intelligence and employment across the region and the country. We appreciate you for coming in and breaking that down so well.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody, stick with us here on Live Impact News. We'll be right back after this quick break.